I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is our initial impressions of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. To kick things off, we should say big thank you to Ubisoft Australia for providing us the code for review purposes. Max, tell the players what this game is about.
So at its core, this game is an Assassin's Creed game where you play the role of Eivor, and you are on a quest to redeem your family's honor.
Now, we're not going to go too much further into that because we do not want to spoil this game for anyone. Obviously, the story's the big driving factor through the game, and we ourselves, we've not seen it through. This is a big title. It's going to take a lot of time, and although we've had the code for a couple of days, we are in no way near the end. It's not happening. So these are
not at all.
Not even a little bit. So these are our first impressions. I've spent about 6-7 hours in it. Where are you at?
I'm close to 8.5.
There we go. So this is what you'll expect in the first little bit, and as we progress further throughout the game, we will continue to update it through our show, which is for the players, the Pop Culturist PlayStation podcast. So yeah, as we progress further and we start playing it on PS5, we'll jump in on there. But either way, so the story. How are you finding the story so far? Without details, of course.
It really throws you into it straight away.
Yeah.
You land like running, which is good in an Assassin's Creed game. It's good to start strong with your story it makes you want to push forwards more. So it's been fantastic. It starts very strong, and it keeps you wanting more from that story.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So the opening of the game is a bit of a set piece, so it's kind of showcases a bunch of characters. You get to sort of know a little bit about what's happening in the world around you as you progress. So what I love, it kicks right off the bat. It gives you such a sense and feel of where they're going here with the Valhalla, with the Norse, with the whole Viking imagery. Like, it slathers that on you straight away, and you kind of just like get instantly pulled into it, which I love. And they also set up a nice couple of plot points to really get things in motion. So, with one of the big questions that comes out of this, because we're not going to talk too much of the story, but it does drive it forward. And one of the way the story is told here is through your character and the gender at which you pick. Now, previously, if we look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you had Alexios and Cassandra.
Yes.
Where you could pick one or the other. Here, they've made a different choice. You can still pick either male Eivor, or Eivor, as I've heard it called, or the lady Eivor, or Shivor, or you can have where the game decides which gender it should be, depending on pivotal moments in the story. Which one did you pick, Max?
So I must admit, initially I was planning on picking I think it's referred to as let the animus decide, and it chooses the stronger DNA bond.
Yeah, mix is probably not the best word to use, Ryan.
But I chose to play as the female version of Eivor. Coming off the heels of playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I found Cassandra's story to be more compelling than what Alexios was. I found her to be a more compelling character than what Alexios was. And although, from what I've seen, the Eivors, because you play as the same person, I would imagine the story is very similar in either way. But I've picked the female character to play as.
Yes, I let the animus decide, because I thought in the nature of reviewing this title, I would like to see how it handles that sort of, for lack of a better word, transition. Like how it decides what's more female driven and what's more male driven in that, binary sense. So yeah, as of right now, like the start of the game, you play as the female, and that's it. Like it has.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I'm still for 8 hours in, I'm still the female version. Like up until now, they've not changed the story.
That's kind of rad. Knowing some of the story set pieces that take place early in the game, the fact that it lets you lead with with the female version of Eivor, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's pretty mad. Like, you can tell that it is something they just sort of interchange throughout, because there is, like, they kind of just play the pronoun game where it's a lot of theys and a lot of thems, and they never really say he or she when referring to when they refer to Eivor, which is a great way. That way you can pick and choose whichever you relate to, or how you want to play your character, and like that's really cool. And so like as of right now, it's not really hitting any sort of. It's just kind of sitting everywhere, and I quite like it that way personally. So we moving from that, which is to say, with the whole setting of the characters, with being Vikings and that whole Norse sort of feel. How are you finding the setting of the game? Because one thing that separates Assassin's Creed from each other is obviously the setting. It's like, it's Assassin's Creed, but it's Egypt. It's Assassin's Creed, but it's the American civil revolution, whatever the fuck, and it's Greek, and like this time it's now Viking. How are you finding the Vikingness?
I kind of like it. So because we're playing, they refer to it in game early on that you're in Norway. Makes sense. It is very vast, open, and mountainous. There is snow everywhere. So coming off the heels of, again, playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey not too long ago, where you have those massively tall buildings, those pantheons that you
big
can climb
statues
up
and shit.
There's so much verticality in the cityscapes there, to moving towards here in Valhalla, where they're very much more, I don't want to use the word primitive, but they're more villages than towns. So there's not as much to climb on. There's not too much there's no height to a lot of their buildings. It's open. Yeah. There's lots of open space, and I think that it's been fantastic to just get on your horse and explore the area, because there are such beautiful vistas that you can look at, especially going back to the Assassin's Creed staple of those synchronization points. You get up there, you hit your synchronize button, that music swells up as the camera pans around, and you just see snow across these beautiful vistas and mountain ranges, and it's fantastic. It looks incredible. Yeah. I think the setting is perfect for what they're doing.
I agree. It's interesting. So I really
just
like
to gush a little bit.
I like Egyptian and I like Greek, especially their mythologies. I love their mythologies. Roman mythology for Odyssey. However, for some reason, it didn't really land. Like playing Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, nothing really ticked for me. Like, just something about it didn't bring me in, which was really weird, because like I said, I love Egyptian shit, and in no way did I get that connection. But here, however, I am hook, line, and sinker. As in, I don't know whether it's just the imagery of, when I'm walking around their little towns, and like it's that, it's those wooden archways with like the ropes, like the etched rope designs in it, the ornate designs, or whether it's how they dress, with the cool furs and the big axes everywhere, and then you can go and get tattoos and they make them look fucking awesome. It's all these little details within the world that I think kind of sell it for me. And I guess it could be, my current game of the generation, or one of my favorite games of all time at this point, is 2018's God of War, which is, set within Norse mythology, and like that grew something in me, a little fascination for that kind of mythology, and I think that maybe is what's happening here. I'm sort of replacing what God of War, what I'm missing from God of War since having finished it. I'm now putting that here into Valhalla. Because it's all the little details. It's just like, the boats are mad, having your own little Viking longship where you go and cause a bunch of chaos, have ravens everywhere, references to Odin and Thor and Freya and all the, all that sort of stuff. Also with the whole, like, raiding towns and stuff like that. It's a really cool feeling, and it just looks good. To add to what you said, though, like, the game is visually stunning. Like, so we're playing on PS4. I'm playing on a PS4 Pro. You're playing on a regular PS4.
I'm playing on a standard PS4, and it still looks absolutely
incredible. And so, like, I'm having moments where I'm looking at this, I'm like, damn, like, especially when you do those synchronization points and you're looking at the landscape, when you're looking at it from a distance, it looks stunning. How the hills move, whatever, and then even on the details as well. You can see all the facial features and just how all the characters look is immaculate. Like if you go check out this YouTube channel that you're on right now, I have posted a stream that I did a couple of days ago. It's about 2.5 hours of straight gameplay, no story stuff. It's just purely mechanical and just things you can sort of, enjoy the world as I go and pick up little trinkets and treasures and shit around the world. It's a great way to sort of showcase the title. So go check that out. All the little details are lovely. The water looks fantastic. It's just all these little things that make it. How you move within the snow is great. You leave those trenches behind you. You leave individual footprints. All these minute details that are brilliant.
If the slope's too steep, you slip and slide through the snow. Slide down the side of the mountain. Yeah, they did a fantastic job.
Now, that does come with its own hurdles, of course. Now, when I think of Odyssey, or when I think of Origins even, because it's a relatively flat world, like there are hills and dips and whatnot, but you felt like there was always something. As you're heading down the road, there's always a town just over there. There's always something a little bit over there. Where here, everything feels quite isolated, at least in this initial first 6-7 hours or whatever. Like it feels like here you are, hills, then the next step, then there's another town, and then more hills. Now
you're very much boating from place to place.
Yeah. Now it does expand. You do leave this area at some point. That's story stuff, and I imagine that's going to open up more, and we're going to go see a larger range of locations. But as of right now, this initial impressions of this first area, you'd be like, man, okay. Because, when you start seeing the map, and the map isn't very full in terms of collectibles and things you can pick up, you're like, oh, that's only 200 meters away. That's not that far at all. Little did you realize you have to hike a mountain to get there, and you're constantly dodging and climbing and whatever. It's like a hike, but it feels like a lot emptier. You're not finding random enemies. You're finding wolves and stuff and other various little animals here and there, or maybe the occasional person. But a lot of it's very alone as you sort of traverse across the mountainside. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. They've still got the additions that they added into Origins and Odyssey, where you can call your horse at any time. You can call your ship at any time. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can just, dial a horse, so to speak. It still follows the same path of you can set it to automatically follow roads for you. And if you place a waymark, you can automatically go to the waymark, assuming that there is a path for whichever vehicle of choice, horse or boat, can actually reach that place. If it can't, it'll tell you, hey, there's no valid road to travel. You're gonna have to do this yourself. So for those of you who want to kind of just look around and have the horse ride you places, you can still definitely do that. Personally, I just spent half an hour climbing up the side of a mountain to get a synchronization point, only to realize that it was on the next mountain over, so I had to climb back down and then back up the other side. That was fun.
Yeah, the same thing. I think it may have been the same point.
But there is some vast open spaces. But yeah, you definitely still have those options of, traveling by horse, traveling by boat. You can call them whenever you need to. And then obviously once you've got those synchronization points, it does have the fast travel system.
Yeah, and the fast travel...
The loading times on that fast travel system is pretty decent as well.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. The fast travel is nice and quick. I have not had any major issues in terms of load times. Now, granted, once the next generation comes in, it should be even better again. But right now, it's pretty tight. It's pretty fast. Boot up's not too bad. Let's dive into some technical stuff here. So, how is it playing for you? As I said, load times are great. It's looking great. But how's it feel?
Yeah. It feels great. The controls are really responsive. The load times are fantastic. Even I'm playing on a standard PlayStation 4. Graphically, it still looks absolutely wonderful. I had this really weird texture pop at one point early on, but it was literally just on a ceramic pot that two NPCs were passing to each other.
And it's all hexagony?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Okay.
But the two NPCs were perfectly rendered, but this pot was kind of just like...
Yeah, it's like they're passing a 20-sided dice looking bong, and they just post, and then as they pass it changes hands and then becomes perfectly round. It was really weird.
It was strange, but that's the only issue I've run into. I haven't had any.
It's essentially just issues. Like the door in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everyone's like, why is that door so low rendered? And I imagine everyone's probably going to have a very similar response here.
In terms of my PlayStation, running loud, it's not. It doesn't seem to be struggling to keep up with what Assassin's Creed is throwing at it. What about you? You having any technical issues?
No, my technical issues are pretty good. I've not had any, specific problems or specific issues, which I'm really happy with. And I was sort of worried that, once they sort of bring in these big open world games, that you're going to have these little problems. But thankfully not. It's been really quite nice for me. A couple of times there was like a woman that I spoke with that she sort of like phased in and out of a table.
Oh, yeah.
Like I spoke to her and I was like, hey, and she was like, hey, and then went into a table and then we started conversing and then she went, oh yeah, and then just popped out of said table.
Oh, actually, yeah, I did have one issue with I'm playing with subtitles on. I had one part where the audio for a conversation froze, but the subtitles kept going. Yeah. And then two voice dialogues were running at the same time because the other one kicked in where it was supposed to, but the other one hadn't finished yet.
Yep.
But apart from that, I think it lasted like 2 seconds. I put it down to being a weird bug. I don't think that,
Yeah, so I'm just having a look at the review guide here as well. They did mention that there are some plans for day one updates, obviously. Now they will be available for those once you pick up the title. They're available now for us. Although it was day one, it's a couple of days ahead, and it's mostly about sort of like fine-tuned balancing, stability improvements, and some various bug fixes. Yeah. And so it's very likely that the issues we mentioned here about lip sync not quite landing or voice kind of sitting weirdly. Yeah, because there were moments where Eivor is talking, but her mouth isn't, the face is still, there's a lot of eye movements and stuff, but the face is still, or a little bit of audio issues where she stops talking, but the game keeps going, and then her voice kind of catches up a couple seconds later. Yeah. So these are just minor fixes, and they're not game breaking or anything. Now, as of right now, I've not had any game breaking bugs. In terms of how it feels, combat, which is a big one here, is fine. It's taking a little while to get used to the controls, not because the controls are bad, but because I've been playing a bunch of other games that use a different control scheme. So having to remind myself that that's square. Square is dodge, not circle.
So I've run into the same issue having been playing Ghost of Tsushima. Square is attack. In this, square is dodge, and you use the triggers to attack.
So I keep going to attack, but I'm just dodging things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But the combat is tight in this game. Now this combat is very similar to that of Odyssey and Origins, where they've added the you have R1 for your heavy attack and R1 for your light attack, R2 for your heavy attack. It's very much driven like that. You can,
with L1 being a shield or your left arm.
L1 is parry or shield if you've got the shield. So in this game, you get the choice of two-handed weapons, sword and shield, or one-handed weapon and shield, or dual-wielding axes or hammers or whatever dual-wield weaponry you have on hand.
Two single-hand weapons, yeah.
Yeah, at the moment, I personally am rocking a flail and a war axe, and it's fantastic. I'm very much enjoying the two-handed combat.
I didn't realize until you pointed it out. They're like, you can have two weapons, right? I'm like, so I had a shield because that's what I got at the start of the game. I didn't, and I found a new axe and I upgraded the axe. I'm like, well, I don't really need this old one anymore. You're like, you can use that. So now I'm like, oh, well, I never, because I'm an idiot, I never use the shield. I just dodge. So I'm like, well, I might as well have two weapons and dodge. And now I'm just decapitating people left and right, and it's having an absolute blast.
Yeah. And also making a return are the special abilities, for lack of a better term. I can't remember.
They're just called abilities.
They're called abilities in this, where you find training manuals essentially out in the world. They're discoverable objects, and they will teach you a skill. And you can set those to your L2 and R2, depending on if they are ranged abilities or melee abilities.
And then connecting them with a front-facing button, yeah.
Yep, and then you connect them with a front-facing button, and each one does something different. So they're a handy use. Again, they're similar to the use in Odyssey, where you have to fill a special meter by participating in combat. And once that bar's full, you can execute one of those abilities.
Yeah, so right now I have one where I just throw a bunch of small axes, or I have a sleeping arrow. So it's like, hi, you're dead. You're asleep. Yep. And then you poke them, and then they get back up. Oh no, stab.
I just recently got one where I charge at the enemy and basically tackle him to the ground and then continuously punch him in the face until they die.
Nice.
That's fun.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Yeah, so it plays very similar. Combat's cool. World exploration is great. Even though I'm not a big fan of the game personally, not this game. I love this game. But I mean, in terms of the game I'm about to reference, which is Breath of the Wild, I do get a lot of Breath of the Wild feels as I'm like, I'm going to climb that mountain, and then I just totally can. Like,
and you can get all the way to the top.
Except without that bullshit stamina, yeah. Or it's going to rain, I'm going to slip, or I'm going to hit with lightning.
One thing that I would like to mention, and that I definitely want to applaud Ubi on, are their accessibility options at the start of this game.
Yes.
So, in the recent months, with games being released this year especially, developers have really stepped up their accessibility options in their games. And I'd really like to applaud them all for doing that. Obviously, another big one this year was Last of Us. I would argue that this game has just as much, if not more, accessibility options than what Naughty Dog put into their title. I spent about 5 minutes before the game even started, and it goes through, colorblind options. It goes through control options, text speed, text size, color, difficulty. It's got different difficulty settings for its stealth-based mechanics, its combat mechanics, its exploration mechanics. So similar to that of Odyssey, you can have a full map. It tells you exactly where to go, or you can do it gives you hints, and then you use your Raven in this game to find the location. You scout it out, and then once you get into the general area, it'll be like, oh, this is where it is, or you can have no waymarks whatsoever, and you've just got to fully explore where you're going. I think it's absolutely fantastic that developers are doing this now.
It is really great, and having it at the front when you start up a new game is brilliant. Like for us, we're like, "Well, this seems like a lot of menu," but it's not for us, and that's the big thing. So, because like I always went, yes, like medium, subtitles, text, medium, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't really think too much about it, but like. For those that need these options, without having to like go into the game and then dig around, it's like, hi, welcome to the game. Do you need these? Yes, beautiful. Come, let's have a look. Or like, hi, do you need these? No? Cool, just go this way and you don't see any of this. And that's cool. That's how accessibility options should work. It's not a situation of you have to fight to find them. It gives you the option at the front. It is essentially, should just be like the pill in the Matrix. You want this one or that one? Like, I want that one. Like, all right, cool, go over there. You don't worry about this. Like, oh, do you want it? Cool, here you go. You've got all these options. You can create the game that you want, that you can experience it the way that you need, so you can enjoy this title. Yeah. It's actually really, really well done in terms of how it does that.
It's fantastic.
Overall, I know what we said here has been sort of intentionally vague without getting too deep into specifics for a couple of reasons. A, as you said, we're still very early on. We've still got a little bit of time with it. This game is going to be like, what, 50, 60 hours? So we're, in theory, 5-ish% through it, 10%, 20%. We're barely touching that motherfucker. So there's a bit of time between us and the end of this game. We were going to keep working on it. We didn't want to touch on story things because with the game coming out presumably right now or in the coming day, depending on when this goes up, it's a situation of like, you don't want to know before you go in. Where's the fun in that? Max, what are your sort of like your final thoughts on this for your first impressions here? And do you recommend people go pick it up?
So, yeah, definitely. So this game starts off very strong. It pulls you in. The game runs beautifully smooth on both, yourself playing on PS4 Pro, me playing on a standard PlayStation 4. I think this is an easy recommended title for anyone who is upgrading to a PS5 or a next-gen console, or even for those who aren't. I think value for money-wise, this game will see you through. This is one of those long-form stories. It has RPG elements. It's massively it has a massive open world. It's going to keep you entertained for hours. And a lot of us are spending a lot of money on those next-gen consoles. This is a very easy recommend because this game will deliver lots of bang for your buck. It's a fantastic game.
100%. I'm in the same boat as you. I can't recommend this game more highly from my initial impressions, mostly because I didn't know I was looking for this game. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. Like we reached out. I was like, "Hey, we'd love to give a review because you were interested more than me."
Yeah.
Knowing that coming off Odyssey and Origins, I was like, they were fine. But the problem is that they came out at other times. Like when Odyssey came out, it was also the same year that like Wolfenstein 2 came out, as well as something else. I'm like, I want to play Wolfenstein so much more. So like maybe I didn't get connected to it because I'd already like looked somewhere else.
Yeah.
And Origins was the same. I think it was a bunch of other, I think it might have been Pokemon at the time or something around that time. I was like, I can't look at this because I know how deep and large and unnecessary that is in terms of, for me.
It can be daunting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only just started doing story stuff. I'm 8.5 hours in. I've got that collectible bug already.
Yeah.
I'm running around collecting all the pieces of gear, the upgrade materials, the abilities that you can find. It's going to be long.
Yeah, I'm in that same spot, but it's weird. Like right now, I didn't realize that that's what I was needing. That's what I was looking for, and it was all wrapped in a theme that I apparently really, really enjoy. Like if someone to ask me like, "What do you think of Norse stuff?" I'd be like, "Yeah, it's fine." But little did I am I going to realize I really, really enjoy Norse stuff. Like, you know, I thought I liked God of War. I do like God of War. I love God of War. I love all God of War. But like the Norse stuff is what kind of got me, I think. And apart from the incredibly written game of the generation story, where here I'm like, okay, the story right now, I've not touched enough of it. Like they've set everything up. I'm like, all right, cool. Where are we going with this? Where's it going? Where's your middle point? Where's your end goal here? So like right now, that story beat, it may not be what's pulling me through, but I think thematically, that's the driving factor here. That's what's propelling me forward. And it's all baked in a game that looks incredibly well made. It has these great little side things. I wouldn't even touch upon the side things. Like you can have like rap battles with people. It's called flighting. You can have like, there's a dice game. So it's like their version of Gwent, you know, and then on top of that, you can have like a drinking game with some woman by the seaside. You know, there's all these little things, and it's like you can chase paper around the roofs like you did in Assassin's Creed 3 for some reason, you know, and like there's all these little side things that you can do while you're out and about searching. So as I said, like the world seems kind of like vast and like empty but hilly, but there's still enough things scattered throughout, and they don't seem so reasonably far. You go, it's only 300 meters. That's not too bad. Well, you know, it's a trek to get there, but little do you know, you get there in no time, and there's always something that little bit further away. So you're always kind of wanting to move forward. And as you said, like we're coming on the cusp of a next generation here. People are going to spend $600, $700, $750 on a next generation console. So for them, they are going to want a game, because here in Australia, games are going to be retailing at $120. So they're going to be needing a game that they can spend some time with, that's going to be, you know, worth their money if you equate game time versus dollar value. So if you're paying $120 for this game, or whatever the cheapest place you can get it for, I think Amazon's got it for like $70 right now, so probably go on that. Like you are going to get your money value here, and it's going to look fantastic, and it's going to run fantastic, because like it's running really well on current generation. I can only imagine how well it's going to do on the next. Right at this very moment in time, it's a must buy if you're getting a next gen console here. Yeah. Like if in terms of third party releases that are available, because like right now both you and I have been playing this as well as Watch Dogs Legion. This poos over Watch Dogs Legion for me unquestionably. Like I
have to agree there. I'm finding this game much more compelling than what their setting of Watch Dogs is,
and I think that's because this is a more traditional RPG, and I that makes sense, because it does feel, you know, it's role playing in terms of like an normal circumstance. You don't normally play Vikings, where here it's like you're playing in London and you have a phone. It's like, well, I do that now, except I do it in Geelong. You know, it's not quite the same, but yeah, there is certainly like a difference in here. It's that good traditional role playing feel, and I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it a lot. So if you want to hear what more we have to say about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, especially over the next coming week or so, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, because we've got a bunch of stuff coming on. As you can see from the logo below us, this review was done from our podcast for the players, the Pop Culturist PlayStation podcast. It's our weekly PlayStation-specific podcast where we talk about the ins and outs of PlayStation, the games that they have to offer, as well as the industry as a whole. Both Max and I have been in the games media for upwards of 6 years combined at this point, so we're doing pretty well. We kind of think we know what we're talking about, so we'd love for you to come and join and get involved. But yeah, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was our initial impressions / initial review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.